Even though, over the years, urban sprawl has claimed a number of farming operations near the east central Kansas town of Paola in Miami County, several farms have endured and even thrived. That's the case for Merle and Jean Kaiser's operation. Both Merle and Jean grew up on farms in the Paola area. Merle went on to study dairy production at Kansas State University, setting up his return to the family dairy operation. Jean pursued an education in finance, which she eventually put to use working for a local bank for 38 years, as well as being active in the farm. Merle is the fourth generation of Kaisers to run this farm. It's been in the family since 1907. Merle's parents and grandparents were also recognized as master farmers, master farm homemakers. The farm transitioned from dairying to beef cattle production some years ago. What's the size and scale of the operation today?
We're right at 1,000 acres right now of pasture. That's everything: pasture, farm ground, hay, you name it.
Corn and soybeans largely, as far as your field crops are concerned?
Field crops is corn and soybeans. We gave up wheat.
And you gave up dairying in 97, thereabouts?
Yes.
Because it was just a tough road to hoe? What?
Well, age, and there wasn't any money in it.
You've developed a cow herd over time, beef cow herd, that is, right?
Correct.
Talk about it, if you would.
While we was still milking, we started the beef herd down at my other brother's house. 40 head down there that we had developed, and I started a heifer breeding program while we was still milking cows, and I was AI on beef heifers. When the black and whites left, I had a cow herd ready to step in.
And now you're up to what, roughly 100 cows, Angus, right?
Close to 100 Angus cows, and they're in two different herds. One of them is a fall calving herd, one is a spring calving herd.
Jean, want to bring back in the fact that you were banking for 38 years, roughly?
Somewhere in that neighborhood, yes.
So that blended well with the farm life as well?
Right, yeah. I always enjoyed being on the farm as a kid growing up. You know, we milked cows. We didn't have a big operation. After we were married, it seemed like the guys were doing pretty much all the manual labor, and so I could get a job in town, and that helped provide, health insurance and that kind of stuff. And
one of the interesting aspects of your farming activities has been you gravitate toward recycling things. Merle, you invested in a train wreck, quite literally so. Explain that, if you would.
Yeah, there was, it's about 4.5 miles south. Burlington Northern had 5 or 6 train cars that ran off the rail and tipped over. And we had been kind of in the house moving business also. So we had some heavy axles, and we built some attachments to jack up a train car, put it on wheels, and drive it home. And we moved that whole train wreck home and set a couple of box cars up for storage, and sold the tanker to the neighbor over here, and he made a gas well tank out of it. Cut up 2 of the box cars, and they're nice, big, long, heavy sides on them. Makes a nice wall for a machine shed. So the machine shed has Burlington Northern wrote on it.
That was a handy investment then.
Oh, yes, and all the parts that we had left over, all the brakes and axles and trucks, and all went to the junkyard and paid for it. So the actual box cars themselves were, other than a little labor, was free.
Another thing you've done, you've taken used cooking oil and converted it to biodiesel, which you use on your operation, right?
We did until a year or so ago. The fuel prices have come down. Back when it was $4, worth going after.
One other thing that is very clear as far as your farming operation, you're devoted to soil conservation. And expand on that a little bit.
Everything we got that we farm is terraced, even most of the pasture. I learned many years ago where this place here, this 100-year farm, Grandpa put in the terraces in 39 or 8 or something like that. So for years, that's all I've ever known was conservation. He taught me that.
Both of you have been deeply involved in community service in various ways. Gene, we'll turn to you. One of the things amidst that is your devotion to your church activities, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. I've been involved with our women's group through the church, the Lutheran Women's Missionary League, and served at a variety of offices locally, and then the Zone, which is the Kansas City area, had some office there also, and then one of the church ladies that kind of mentored me, she really encouraged me to run for a state office, and so I was elected to the state treasurer and held that job for 4 years. So
that among an assortment of civic and community activities that both of you have been involved with, correct?
Right. We always try to participate with the extension programs, and I've been involved with a couple of Chamber of Commerce's, the Paola and then the Spring Hill when I worked at a bank up there.
Merle's been on the local extension council for a few years. Involvement in 4-H with your youngsters as well?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
To what extent?
I was a tractor driving judge down at the fair for, I think, like 6 or 8 years. And not the judge, the superintendent. And helped the kids with bucket calves the whole time, and then we showed some dairy. And we had several projects that went to the state fair. Kelly was in soybeans, he took out there, and wheat one year.
Let's visit about the youngsters a bit then. We've already mentioned them a time or two, but Kathy and her husband are sort of edging into starting their own farming operation.
Mm-hmm. Right. They live on 40 acres of land that we had gifted part of it, and then they are purchasing the last 20 acres, and they love to have cows and calves, and the girls love to go feed the calves and help their dad. And even though they both have full-time jobs, why they do live on a farm and enjoy that a lot.
And again, your son Kelly has come back from his studies at Kansas State University to farm mostly on his own.
Well, he mainly works with me. It's another beginning of another partnership, or I guess that's how it's evolving.
And he has a business on the side that complements the farming pretty well, it sounds.
Yeah, he builds rails, handrails for stairs and bumpers, and
he's into metal fabrication then.
There you go.
And you've 5 grandkids in total then, right?
Right.
We do.
Merle, to you though, how important is it to have a 5th generation in Kelly involved in this operation now?
It's everything. And ain't no words for it.
Yeah, it's a century farm.
Yeah, we don't want to let that go away.
Let's finish here by talking about what this recognition means to you as Master Farmer, Master Farm Homemaker, class of 2016. Gene, your thoughts on this?
Well, I'm pretty humbled. I don't know that we necessarily deserve it, but it was probably important just because of the family history and trying to carry on the tradition of making sure that the land is preserved and passed on to future generations, and to encourage their participation in farming.
Merle, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'd like to keep it going just like it is instead of building houses on it.
Well, congratulations to both of you.
Merle and Gene Kaiser of Miami County, Kansas Master Farmer, Master Farm Homemaker, class of 2016.